have a police officer here in this community because they're trying to keep people away from here, and that's because of the winds and just all the ash and all the other debris that's here. With the strong winds, they will be picking up all the ashes, the metals, the nails, and they become projectiles. We have seen pieces of metal from some of these properties, just burned pieces that have been flying around everywhere. And even though we're wearing the masks and the goggles, you can still smell that heavy ash here in the air. So again, guys, just a heartbreaking situation here in this specific community of Pacific Coast Highway. But again, just you can't ignore the pain that this community is going through. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio. Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Okay. Hola, hola. Okay. Ready? Yep. Así es, compañeros, pues nosotros nos encontramos sobre el Pacific Coast Highway y como pueden ver aquí, básicamente todo esto está cerrado al público. Solamente realmente estamos viendo a los bomberos, a la policía que está pasando, algunos medios de comunicaciones, pero realmente no hay acceso aquí para el público. Mucha gente, como pueden ver aquí al cruzar la carretera, son muchas personas que tienen propiedades aquí sobre el Pacific Coast Highway y están viniendo para acá caminando en bicicleta porque quieren básicamente revisar cuál es la situación de sus casas, algo que las autoridades les están diciendo que por favor eviten, que por favor se mantengan alejados de esta zona porque realmente todavía sigue una situación muy activa. Y es que, como pueden observar aquí, a pesar del humo, estamos viendo aquí fuertes vientos y también a la distancia en veces podemos ver algún fuego que se está acercando un poco. Tenemos unos compañeros que nos acaban de confirmar que hay unas casas simplemente al otro lado de el cerro que tienen aquí en su pantalla que se estaban quemando, y eso es lo que está generando el humo que se está llegando básicamente para la zona donde estamos nosotros. Pero la zona donde estamos aquí, esta comunidad, como pueden observar, todo quedó destrozado. Este es un parque de casas móviles conocido como Palisades Bowl. Y aquí les cuento que esta es una pequeña comunidad que realmente ninguna casa quedó a salvo de este fuego. Todo quedó en cenizas. Estuvimos hablando con diferentes familias esta mañana y nos dicen que ellos tenían algún tipo de esperanza de llegar y encontrar sus casas todavía aquí, pero desafortunadamente esa no fue la situación para nadie aquí. La verdad, lo único que nos dijeron fue que ellos vivieron tremenda pesadilla las últimas 24 horas cuando fueron desalojados aquí de sus casas. Lograron salir sin ningún tipo de heridas, pero desafortunadamente sus casas, sus pertenencias, sus carros, todo quedó destrozado. Como pueden ver, todo. Realmente es muy difícil ver dónde empezaba y dónde terminaba cada casa. Lo que sí podemos ver son que algunas de las tuberías todavía siguen con el agua. Podemos ver algunos pedazos con fuego en la distancia, pero aparte de eso es muy difícil saber dónde empieza y dónde termina cada propiedad. Y es muy difícil eso, aparte de ver, o sea, la destrucción. Es un dolor muy grande porque estamos viendo aquí donde la gente pues realmente pasó muchos años con sus familias haciendo recuerdos. Una familia nos dice que ellos duraron aquí casi 3 décadas y realmente se vinieron a vivir aquí porque dicen que esto era lo mejor para ellos, esto era su paraíso, porque a pesar de que están aquí sobre Pacific Coast Highway, la vista que tenían es una vista increíble al mar y ahora realmente todo esto quedó eliminado. Una familia nos dice que realmente no saben cuál será el próximo paso, pero están agradecidos de que ellos están bien, están a salvo, y ahora pues empieza ese camino largo de reconstruir sus vidas, hacer esas llamadas para ver cómo es que van a agarrar esa ayuda para otra vez volver a hacer sus casas. Entonces ahorita es un sentimiento muy grande lo que las familias, lo que esta comunidad está sintiendo, pero todavía no hemos llegado al fin de este incendio, porque como pueden observar todavía sigue saliendo el humo, todavía hay fuego aquí en esta zona. Las autoridades, nuevamente, como les estaba comentando, les están pidiendo al público que se alejen, que no regresen aquí, porque todavía hay mucho peligro, a pesar de que el fuego ya no hay fuego aquí en esta zona. El humo, les puedo contar, es un humo muy pesado, y no solamente la ceniza, pero son diferentes olores que estamos oliendo por toda la tubería, los diferentes químicos que hay por aquí. Es algo que es muy peligroso, porque no lo puedes sentir ahorita, pero a largo plazo es cuando empiezan todos los dolores y los problemas de salud. Así que una situación muy triste aquí en esta área de Pacific Palisades, pero por lo pronto regreso con ustedes, compañeros, al estudio. Mind if we go back? This is good. No problem. We're good. Plenty of room, you're good. Stay safe, guys. ¿Cuándo con el lonche y el descanso de 15 minutos? Yo siento como que ya le dimos todo lo que dimos de aquí. Si nos vamos a otro lugar, ¿cómo la ves?
¿Ah?
Si nos vamos a otro lugar.
Va a ser lo mismo. A mí, la onda es que alguien viniera. A mí, hablas con él. ¿Hasta dónde está una señora?
Vamos allá, a ver si...
¿Y qué hablas con ellos?
¿Con quién?
¿Los bomberos?
Ya, déjame ver a ver si...
Tal vez quieran, ¿no?
Déjame hablar con
Porque
él.
se ha grabado.
Dark because it was so dark, pitch black, and the lights were out, remember? So the embers are traveling along the ground. And as you see these little black things, you would have less embers than that. And this is how all of this caught on fire from 8 to now. I mean, none of this was on fire. We were parked right where that car was.
And we're here on Lake Avenue, as we mentioned, a main thoroughfare here. We are in the direction facing north right now. Describe for me what we're looking at in flames.
Well, you're looking at a small-time community. small-time community where most of the people come down, they retreat to here. You have the post office, which is on fire. You have the Aldi's, which is on fire, the grocery outlet, which is on fire, the neighborhood restaurant, which is on fire, the Thai restaurant, which is on fire, the bar, which is like the staple of the community, which has burned down. That was a pet store, thrift stores. I mean, everything is gone, and you just can't believe that from 8 until now that all of this damage has happened. And then as you're driving through the community, it's the same thing. I'm saying 70% of the business is gone, 30% of the houses for sure gone, and it may be closer to 50%, but I tend to want to err on the side of, you know, being cautious, I think.
And as we look at this live picture right here, you'll notice that you don't see any firefighters in the screen. I talked to one of them a minute ago. I had a neighbor come up to me and say that, where are they? Where are these firefighters? They told me these embers are flying. They are just stretched too thin. Is that what you're seeing too?
Yeah, because this morning you'll see 15 fire trucks shooting all up. They're all coming in the line. And you saw them in different places. But the problem is, it's everywhere. It's nothing they can do. All they can do really is get the people out. And that's what I was told, that they're just getting the people out, trying to make sure that, you know, any major break, like they warned us about the Chevron station, saying that it's going to blow. They say make sure you're half a mile away from that Chevron gas station. You can't even see it, but we're actually about 4 blocks away from the Chevron station, and you can't see it for the smoke. But it's right there where that light is, that second police, the rotating light is right there.
Very lastly, what is your next step for you and for this community?
Well, we went and rented a hotel room, and you know what? I think most people are kind of in this shock, but accepting kind of shock, where you're in shock, you've accepted it, you understand, and just happy to be alive. You know, it was really something, because animals will let you know everything, and we had the dogs in the car, and the dogs, they were acting kind of skittish, so they knew that this was really big. It's amazing how much wiser the animals are than we are.
I'm sorry for what's happened to you and your family and your community here in Altadena. We thank you for your time.
Hey, you be blessed.
That was Kraft, whose home burned in the fire, but you're looking at Lake Avenue, and you saw in both directions, flames are here. We've got a crew now that's putting some water on it, but frankly, the flames are too much. I want to make one final note. When talking with that firefighter, he said the other problem is the hydrants aren't working well. He said we're getting such low water pressure, and you can kind of see it right there. They're getting such low water pressure that it's making it even more difficult to fight. So they have been facing challenges through the night, in addition to the challenges brought by Mother Nature. So just a devastating scene here in Altadena. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Alex, thank you so much. Alex Rozier there reporting live covering the Eaton fire forest that has scorched more than 10,000 plus acres. We now want to get to NBC4's Conan Nolan joining us live in Altadena, where 2 homes are burning there. Conan.
Right. Well, we are up now from where we were earlier. We're at Alameda and Santa Rosa. There are multiple homes on fire here. We are west of where Alex was reporting on Lake Boulevard, where there is the commercial district. This is, of course, residential. In the distance, there's one home. We can zoom into that. That fire, it's quite possible that the ember from that fire ignited this house to my left here, which is fully involved. And there's a neighbor house next door to it as well, a neighboring house. Again, there just isn't enough resource. So right now, the homeowner obviously evacuated. You see his car, or a car still here. There are no engine companies within sight here, save for one down the street. And as we talked with a battalion chief just a little while ago from Northern California, he said right now they're under the plume, which was his way of saying they're not exactly sure where they are and what the situation is outside of the very specific neighborhood of which they've been assigned. This house fully involved, and this one, not too long ago, these 2 homes appeared to be safe, but much for the embers to fly from one downrange from the other homes about a block up from here, 2 blocks up. The good news is, you see this plume, it's going straight up. Oh, sorry, it's going straight up. And as a result of that, it indicates to you that there's no wind has died down. In fact, I can actually bring my mast down because we are downwind from this fire, which is fortunate for us, very unfortunate for anybody who is in the neighborhood just to the north of us. We hear throughout the neighborhood, of course, wherever there's a fire, there's some combustion taking place, whether it's propane, not exactly sure what it is, but that's also part of what transpires during a calamity like this. Not only is there's a fire, there's other elements within the home, the toxicity of the home, and then of course, as we mentioned before, there's the issue related to the electrical wires that have fallen down throughout much of the neighborhood here and other neighborhoods. We take a look at this this home over here on fire. Excuse me, sir, do you live here?
I live on the next street.
So tell me, how's your house?
It's fine. I was out here this morning hosing it down, make sure none of the fire jumped over, but I'm monitoring the neighborhood, make sure that it doesn't spark up again, and just tracking everything.
Right. So a lot of your neighbors stuck around.
Yes.
It's an evacuation. Tell us your thought process when it came to staying or going.
Well, you know, it's an important house. It's actually my daughter's house, so I'm watching it for her, and just didn't want to see it happen. I mean, if the fire had gotten really bad and there was fires right adjacent, I would have gotten out, but I didn't see too much of a danger, so I felt I could stay around and host the place down and keep it cool.
Right. Is it unnerving, though, to see that there just isn't the resource?
Yes, and I know they're strapped. I mean, I called on this house a couple hours ago. I saw smoke starting to come out of it. Fire department said we'll get out there when we can, but you know, we just don't have enough resources.
Terrific. Your name, sir, is?
Mark Griffith.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Right.
I appreciate it. Good luck to you.
All right, thanks.
So there you have it. Let me see this engine company. Again, we're talking about mutual aid. This is LA County Engine Company 20, and you can see there's they're putting some they're putting some water on this blaze. Again, doing what they can not to save that house, but to save the house next to it. And this is an interesting scene. You've got a homeowner, we can assume is a homeowner, putting his fire hose up against the neighboring fire, side by side with the engineers and the firefighters from LA County. It's a team effort, but once again, what we've seen throughout these neighborhoods, and you've seen it in the Palisades, I'm sure, is these impromptu fire brigades where neighbors have been reaching out to neighbors. One of the things that you find out after these kind of fires is you talk to individuals and they say, I really never knew my neighbor until this happened. Well, it's a sense of community that helps save a neighborhood when people know each other before a calamity like this. Here we have, they're going to bring in a ladder here to the right, as I think they're going to, again, make their way to the roof, and then do what they can to make sure that no fire embers end up in this structure. As he goes up, it's really bad. Anyhow, yes, I don't know what the exact number is on the number of homes that we've seen. The plume is going sort of straight up, which is better. It's not consuming us, and the wind has died down, which gives them a fighting chance. And I'll be honest with you, if the wind hadn't died down, we wouldn't be this close, just because it's, again, the ferocity of the fire, the ferocity of the wind, the amount of heat that's generated, the fuel inside these homes, and then the vegetation, which, although green, much of it still with such very little Very, very little, I should say, very dry, little moisture, and we've seen some of the tree line go up in smoke as well. On this street, by the way, Alameda and Santa Rosa, there are towering pines, and that's also a concern. They want to make sure that they keep the fire from getting in any of these trees that could crest, and that could lead to a transmission of the flame from one part of the street to the other. That in and of itself is an issue. But once again, this is Alameda at Santa Rosa, LA County Fire Department, engine 20 on scene. We've counted at least 5 homes on fire here. Alex was talking about his neighborhood in the commercial district on Lake Boulevard that is east of here. There, the loss of commercial structures. This is the neighborhood which the fires have been hopscotching from one to another. Some being saved, and others not so much. Again, it's all about timing, whether or not the fire reaches you by the time the winds die down. The winds have died down currently. Very good news for the homeowners here as they look warily at the firefight across the street. Back to you.
Yeah, Conan, with the caveat that the winds have actually died down where you are in your particular neighborhood, but again, not necessarily the story in other parts of Altadena. As we give our viewers now that split screen, what you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen is exactly where Alex Rozier was, there on Lake Boulevard. And of course, we have Conan's live shot there on the right, where at least 5 homes have burned within that neighborhood of Alameda and Santa Rosa. All right, so we want to switch now from our coverage here in Altadena and take you back up to News Chopper 4 live over Pacific Palisades with Julia Ding. Julia.
Michael, this is eerie. This is just unnerving. Look at the water here. It's glowing orange from flames that are continuing to erupt. We're still over the Palisades fire, and it doesn't feel to me or my pilot like winds have died down here. This is just unrecognizable. I mean, this is our iconic Southern California coastline. We've actually turned on the map overlay, this map graphic in our helicopter, because you probably can't even tell what we're shooting. This is Pacific Coast Highway here that I'm zooming in on. And just like Conan was reporting on the other side of town, you know, it comes down to timing for a lot of these structures, a lot of these homes and businesses, whether they are going to be saved or not. So right now we've got a plume of smoke being blown into the camera frame, but you can just make out, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Again, this is Pacific Coast Highway. We are shooting west toward the ocean. You can just make out a frantic firefight underway right now. Homes up and down PCH on both sides, east and west, had been burning throughout the night, throughout today. It's completely obscured now. I'm going to pull back out with the camera and see what I can show you. But again, it does not feel like winds have died down. Winds have been kicking up flames. I'm going to move the camera east a little bit and show you where the worst of this is burning right now. We've been posted up northeast of the fire just to get out of the line of smoke, but because the winds are blowing so quickly, so erratically, so powerfully, we can smell the smoke in the helicopter. I'm starting to get this fine layer of dust on the camera controls back here. I imagine it is from this fire because we've never experienced anything quite like this before. But take a look at this. As this starts to come into view, I hope this map graphic helps you get a sense of what it is we're looking at, where we are right now. Look, this is glowing orange. We've got flare-ups over here. And we just don't have the fire resources to fight everything that's breaking out, to chase these embers that are flying through the air and raining down on communities. And Conan earlier was talking about this sense of community. I know that has not been shaken, but I think everybody's sense of security has. I mean, questions are coming up about whether we were as prepared as we could have been, whether the city, the fire departments, everybody had what they needed. And we are watching from overhead in real time with this big picture, bird's eye view of the consequences of all of this playing out, right? The weather conditions, wind conditions, the dry brush, and then, of course, the preparation. But I keep on reminding our viewers what is within your control right now. If you're under an evacuation warning where it is still voluntary for you to get out, what is within your control is that decision to pack a go bag, to be ready, and to get out sooner rather than later. This is apocalyptic. You do not want to be anywhere near this smoke.
All right, Julia Dane giving us a bird's eye view again with the reminder of always being prepared. And we heard Camilla from Brazona Craft, who spoke with Alex. He said he just took it for granted and that he didn't grab anything before he left. Again, not returning to a home.
Yeah, and talking about that shock of just coming back the next day, just absolutely heartbreaking to hear some of these interviews today.
All right, folks, it is 1:30 right now as we continue to follow the very latest on all of these fires burning across California.
We're talking about 4 different fires here: the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire in Altadena, the Hearst fire in Sylmar, and another small wildfire in the Sepulveda Basin. And on your screen there, you see that QR code to help you stay up to date with evacuation orders, school and road closures, and those weather conditions.
All right, the Palisades fire is now, we have some new numbers here for you, 15,832 acres. About 1,000 homes and businesses have been completely destroyed. LA City Fire says the flames started as a backyard fire.
And about 50 miles away is that deadly Eaton fire near Altadena. At least 2 people have died in that fire. More than 10,600 acres have been scorched. And within the last half hour, we heard from one firefighter who was on the front lines of those flames. And he told our Conan Nolan that resources are stretched thin.
We're saving as much as we can.
How frustrating has it been? I mean, there are all sorts of outbreaks. You only have so many personnel and so much water.
It's extremely frustrating. I mean, everyone's doing the best they can with what we have, and it's just frustrating that it's just not enough.
All right, we want to now bring in meteorologist Stephanie Olmo, and of course we talked about the peak of those winds, which was from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. this morning. What are we looking at now moving forward, Steph?
Even throughout the late morning hours, Michael, we were dealing with very strong gusts. Now, as we continue throughout the rest of the afternoon hours, it's letting up a little bit. It's still gusty out there, just not as strong as what we had earlier today or even what we had yesterday. So I want to go over again and check out the current observation sites where we have these fires burning. So let's first start things up around Altadena, where of course we have the Eden fire that's burning right now. Sustained winds generally around the area, 3 to 5 miles an hour. With the gusts, as you see there in Altadena, right around 50 miles an hour. So, of course, this is where we have Conan Nolan at, and the winds have calmed down a little bit compared to, again, what we had earlier today. Over in La Cañada Flint Ridge, we're still looking at gusts right around 30 miles an hour at this time. But as we continue throughout the afternoon, for the most part, models are showing that it will continue to remain light in this general area. But we cannot put our guards down because, of course, we could occasionally get strong gusts as we continue into this afternoon. Another area of concern, especially here, the Palisades fire, where it has just exploded. Another fire that has just exploded, where gusts around just south here, Topanga Beach, where it's lower elevations, gusts right around 34 miles an hour. But up to the north over in Santa Monica Mountains, we're looking at gusts right around 42 miles an hour. Definitely a difference from earlier this morning when I got in. Around 6 in the morning, we had gusts around over 80 miles an hour there. So certainly seeing a difference there. But of course, it's still very strong at this time. As we go over and check out another spot, the Hearst fire that's burning in Sylmar, we do have a gust generally around the area, especially up in Ridgetop side. Gusts right around 53 miles an hour as we continue with sustained winds at 30 miles an hour. So as we zoom out, check out the picture across the region. We're still looking at pretty strong gusts. So you see some of the coloring here. Now, again, we've sort of scaled back in some of the colors, but you're still seeing we're looking at gusts right around 40 miles an hour in some spots. Like, for example, Santa Clarita down to Van Nuys, close to 40 miles an hour. LAX. So another thing that we were talking about here yesterday, and impacted wind-sheltered areas because of just how strong these winds were. We had that upper level support, and it brought a lot of those strong winds even down to the basin. LAX looking at gusts of 26 miles an hour over in the Inland Empire, Orange County. It was just earlier today, a couple hours ago, we had gusts in Santa Ana right around 60 miles an hour. We've scaled back to 44. But it's still very strong. 47 in Ontario and close to 40 right now in Riverside. So again, this is why I keep saying we cannot let our guards down, because it's still gusting pretty good and it's very, very dry out there. Let's go over some of the peak wind gusts that we experienced earlier today or even yesterday. Magic Mountain Truck Trail. This is the San Gabriel Mountains, where we actually saw peak gusts of 90 miles an hour. In Deer Creek Canyon, this is in Santa Monica Mountains, where we experienced a gust at 80 miles an hour there. Simi Valley, 77 miles an hour. Camp 9, also in the San Gabriel Mountains, 75 mile per hour peak gust for you. And lastly, around Van Nuys, we saw a peak gust of 67 miles an hour earlier today. So we've been talking about how dry conditions are, and they will remain that way as we continue throughout the day. So as we go over the humidity futurecast, and you see some of the percentages here down into the single digits, down into the teens. It's very dry. It sort of sucks the moisture out of the vegetation, and it becomes more flammable. So this is why it becomes an issue as we continue, even though the winds are weakening a little bit in some spots and still pretty gusty. And any spark could still cause a big fire. As we continue into later on tonight, you start to see some percentages climb a little bit. For example, at Long Beach, we're climbing back into the 70s. So areas along the coast, but a little bit further inland, again, we're still looking at percentages or humidity values down into the single digits, down into the teens and the 20s. So still very, very dry conditions, even as we head throughout the day here on Thursday across the area here. And that's going to remain that way as we still have the northeasterly winds that will persist. So let's talk more about these winds, and let's talk about what can we expect as we head into the rest of this afternoon and into this evening. So as we put this into play, we head into the next couple of hours. Again, just right now, we're seeing a little bit more of that purple around this way, around the Santa Clarita area, down into Malibu. And now we're starting to scale it back. We're seeing more of that orange, still seeing very strong gusts over 25, 30 miles an hour in some of these areas, as well as around the Inland Empire and down into Orange County, where you see Irvine. As we head into just a couple of hours here, we're talking about, or rather, I would say in the next 20 minutes or so, seeing gusts right around 31 miles an hour as we continue throughout the rest of the afternoon and heading into the evening hours. It gets a little bit lighter across the area here, but it's still very strong with gusts around 20 to 30 miles an hour as we continue. And Michael and Camilla, and we're still dealing with that smoke advisory that has expanded to Orange County. The Inland Empire is still a big issue. So if you don't have to be outdoors, it's best to stay indoors. So back to you guys.
Yes,
all right, Stephanie, thank you.
Yeah, that air quality continues to be a concern at this hour. We now want to get to NBC4's Hetty Chang live in Pacific Palisades right now. And Hetty, you spoke with a homeowner earlier who lost multiple homes.
Yeah, he's been around the area all this morning. He lost all 3 childhood homes that he grew up in. He lost his elementary school, which is down the street, his high school, and he's been touring the area just to check on his friends' homes. Those 2 have all been lost. We're here at the Village, and this is where a lot of the businesses that people visit all the time to have Sunday brunch, you know, the Bank of America, the clothing store. And we've been talking with folks like Ron Durham, and you have been a resident here for 6 years. You decided to just start walking and to check on your home.
Yeah.
Do you know what the status is?
I don't. I've checked maps, and the maps say that all the area around my home has burned, but I don't have any indication of that exact street and the location and everything. So I just decided I got to go. You know, we packed out. Yesterday, my wife went around like 11 o'clock and picked up the kids at the Waldorf school, and excuse me here, and then I stayed and packed up as many things as I could and got on the road. There was tons of traffic, and you can well imagine it's just been kind of crazy.
How does it feel not knowing whether your home is still standing or not?
I don't know. It's otherworldly. I can't even explain it. It's just Yeah, it's like, you know, I want to be able to have a home to go home to, but and I want some confirmation. So the only way I could do it was to park my car in Santa Monica and start hoofing it, and got this far, and it's a pretty dismal scene. It's apocalyptic in so many ways.
Apocalyptic is a term that we've used, we've heard a lot lately as we're talking with folks. Can you just kind of describe this area that we are at, and whether these are places that you visit to do business? You go to the bank.
Well, Erewhon, like everybody buys food at Erewhon. This was the Starbucks. A friend was going to open up a shop. And part of this building here, you know, this is Elise Walker, and all this whole street down here is where the farmers market, half the farmers market is every Sunday. So, yeah, I mean, this is sort of the center of town here, and it's just decimated in so many ways. And then there's like CVS is still standing. So I took 4 disposable cameras over there last week, so I may be able to get my pictures yet. Which is like, that's the bizarreness of it. It's, you know, it's crazy.
And it seems like there's no rhyme or reason. You know, we've been driving through so many neighborhoods. Some homes are completely untouched. Yeah. Others are completely gone.
Yeah. It's sort of like I lived in Santa Barbara back in the 70s, and they had a fire like this that came down out of the foothills and selectively started burning houses. And, you know, it's so reminiscent of that. It's just, it's a travesty. It's a catastrophe.
To go through this again so many decades later.
Well, I actually didn't live in that area, so it wasn't, it's just that I toured it afterwards because I did have some friends there, but this is a completely different ballgame for me because I live in this neighborhood.
What is your plan when you actually do get to your house?
I have no plan. My plan is just to look and see what's there. There's nothing else I can do at this point.
Well, our thoughts and certainly our prayers are with you and your family in this community, and I can, you know, sense the heartbreak and just the emotions that you're feeling right now.
Yeah, it's you know, it's not something that you experience all the time. It just happens, and sometimes you're in the middle of it, and sometimes you're on the outside of it. And, I'm lucky enough to have friends who would take us in, and we're doing what we can, and a lot of it's just waiting.
Tell me about the Palisades community.
The Palisades community that I am mostly involved in is with the Waldorf School, which has had some damage done to it. I don't know how much, and it's a funny thing with all of the news and all the sources coming in. It's hard to confirm what's real and what isn't. So because so many things contradict the others. But that's the strongest community that I have is those people who have kids like I do, and I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So
they are safe.
They are very safe, and they're with mom and friends, and I actually, despite the fact that I'm looking at all this, I feel safe here right now too. I don't feel threatened.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. I think the winds, as compared to this morning, are much lighter, but they're still, you know, sporadic, right, and gusty at the time. So thank you so much. Please keep us posted. And like I said, our thoughts are with your family. If there's anything we can do to help to drive up there, please do let us know.
Yeah, all right, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a card or something I can take with me?
Yeah, let me just wrap up with this live shot, and then I'll get it to you. But again, Michael and Camila, you heard from that gentleman. He parked his car in Santa Monica, and then he just decided to start walking. He wanted to make sure that his kids and his and their mother were safe, and so he's just walking. He's been walking here for about an hour and a half before we ran into him here at the village. And you know, initially I said, hey, can we do a live interview with you? And right away he got emotional. He got choked up and he said, "I'm sorry." And I said, "You're human.
Yeah.
This is your community, and please don't apologize for that." There's many emotions here, just to see the devastation firsthand. And I can't imagine what he's feeling, not knowing whether his home is there or not. And as we've been hearing from so many people, it's so random, right? I mean, it's random as to the CVS is still standing, yet the beloved neighborhood cafe where they have Sunday brunch is gone, right? Homes, schools, clothing stores, places of worship. Some of those are totally gone. So, I'm sure it's too early to ask these folks, what's the next step for you? Because as you heard there, for now, they are just trying to figure it out. He doesn't have a plan. He just wants to get to his neighborhood to find out if his home of 6 years is still standing. And he does not know that.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, one of many stories like that. Hetty Ching live for us there in Pacific Palisades. We want to now switch on over to Olivia Garvey, who is also in Palisades over there at Allenford and Sunset. Olivia.
Hey guys, yeah, as you just said, we are on Allenford and Sunset. I'm going to step away here. Police officers right now are trying to divert these cars off Allenford there. I know many of them are trying to go up Sunset, but that is just not happening today. They have completely shut down Sunset. It's awful, and all of these cars have come up to us because we have been up Sunset. We have been up in Pacific Palisades. Unfortunately, we cannot go live up there due to the cell signal. We hope to go up there soon with a truck, but all of these cars asking us, how's our homes up there? How's our homes up there? We don't know. We don't know, but we know that the destruction up there is absolutely terrifying. I talked to one man who was trying to save so many homes up there, and he tells me it's a war zone, and that's exactly what it looked like. We walked around a home where the car was burned. The only thing that was standing was the fireplace. The sewage up there, or the water, is now going to higher levels. The plumbing is just going to higher levels now. I have video of that. I'm not sure if they can show you that right now. It is just so disastrous up in the Pacific Palisades. The winds aren't that bad right here, but if you go up Sunset, if you go up West Sunset, it's moving. I had trouble standing still. It was horrific, and I can't say this enough. It is a war zone. We did go up to where the Gelson's is. It is no longer there. It is completely destroyed. A supermarket that people go to every day can no longer go because it has been burned to the ground. I posted that on social media just moments ago, and people saying, that was my grocery store, that was my grocery store. It's so emotional. I grew up here, and to see the extent of this, us SoCal kids understand fires. We've lived through it, but this is nothing like anyone has seen, and I've heard that multiple times. Not a lot of cars can go up West Sunset, like I said. They've completely shut it down, but I also did run into Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom. I did not speak with them, but we were very, very close. Scott Weber and I got very close, and we could hear what CAL FIRE was trying to tell them, and he said, Karen, I have not seen anything like this in my 20 years, and that hit hard for everyone standing around. You can only imagine what those firefighters have gone through, and for them to say that is absolutely horrific and scary, guys.
Olivia, you're talking about your roots and your links there to the Pacific Palisades area, and Hetty down in the village has just rattled off a number of stores and locations, some really beloved locations that are no longer there. How does that hit you?
It's emotional. Like I said, I grew up here. I grew up in the Pacific Palisades till I was, 7 or 8, and it's such a incredible community. I mean, there are so many homes up there destroyed that have been there for years and years and years. And when I talked to that man who explained this as a war zone, he and his family have been here forever. And all the memories in those homes. Rick Caruso on our station last night telling us about his daughter. His daughter lost his home. Well, he has a home here as well, and that's where his family grew up. And that is with so many families. They raise their kids in these homes, and now they're completely destroyed. The memories stay, but the home is now burned to ash, and that is just so hard to hear.
And Olivia, have you been getting a sense of some of the homeowners there? I was on Sunset Boulevard yesterday in that gridlock, and a lot of homeowners decided to stay behind to try to fend off these flames from their home. Have you been getting that sense there as well from where you are?
Yes, you know what, when we go up West Sunset, and we will in a little bit, we're going to try to get back up there and go live. Like I said, the signal up there is awful right now, but we did just see that one man, and we didn't really see a lot of other people. I also want to explain this as well. We were on a street off West Sunset up in the Pacific Palisades, and a tree had fallen onto the road, and there's no getting in and out of that road now. It is completely blocked. I'm sure they can show you shortly, but I talked to one of the CAL FIRE guys there, and he said this tree falling is a blessing in disguise, because you have to remember there are people trying to get their cars up there, and guys on bicycles trying to get into the homes that are still standing. And that is what he said to me. He said right now what we're, excuse me? All right, guys, we're going to send it back to you.
Okay, we'll check back in with you here in just a bit, Olivia. We want to now send that on over to NBC4's Alex Wazir. Again, still live for us there in Altadena, where a grocery store is on fire right there behind you, Alex.
Yeah, Michael, we've been watching this. You know, an hour ago we came to you live. We were walking right next to the grocery store, and now it is completely up in flames behind me. This is an Aldi. Right next to it is a Dollar King, and that's at Calaveras and Lake Avenue, where we're looking here directly to the south. Right next to the Aldi is Elliott Arts Magnet Middle School, which also caught fire earlier this morning, and now we're seeing it across the street at the grocery store. We're seeing some folks here that are making their way up on Lake Avenue right here, but this is a busy thoroughfare. You can see the big flames, but also look at the sky and the black smoke, Tommy, if we can pan up. And you can see some of these embers that are coming down here. And when I talked to the fire crews out here today, they told me that's the biggest problem, is that these embers are starting all these other fires. And that's why we've had so many different ones in this community. This has hit businesses, it has hit homes, schools, just about everything here in Altadena. Let's pan you headed northbound, Tommy. Show all the way up Lake Avenue, which is normally a busy street here. I will say, in the last 30 minutes, if you look far down in that direction, you can see a number of fire crews, which is something that we had not seen for a long time here. Frankly, they are just stretched so thin with the fires that are burning across Southern California right now. But in the last half hour, it seems as though a number of them have been redirected to Altadena. But let's bring you back over here at what we're talking about right now. Again, this is the Aldi and the Dollar King. This, in the last few minutes, has gone up in flames in a very big way. Look across the street, grocery outlet, it has not yet been touched. But I want to show you one other thing that really kind of caught my attention today, and that's this sign. It says, "Greetings from Altadena," in the heart of Lake Avenue. Many of the businesses on fire, and this is what Altadena looks like today. Michael, we'll send it back into you.
Alex, if you can here for a second, because I think it's important to point out, we've heard from a number of people, at least during our coverage, my coverage here that began at 1 with Camilla here, people that Hetty have spoken to, people that Conan have spoken to. They've all touched on the fact that resources are stretched thin. And again, I'm sure a lot of folks are looking to city and county officials here right now. What is the sense for folks out there? What are they telling you? What are their frustrations? What are their concerns?
You know, frankly, I think it depends on the person, because especially now in this moment, in the 24 hours after several homes have burned here, we talked to some homeowners, some that are taking it better than others. One person didn't want to talk to me at all. Frankly, understandable given the situation, so very high emotions, but all of them are in agreement that the resources have not been there. Now, I think we're dealing with a situation that may be almost unprecedented here, given the number of fires, the fast-moving winds, the crews that are stretched all over. So I think it's going to be a story that's going to play out here in the next couple of months as we try to get some answers about what went right and what went wrong. And I brought it up in my last live report. The other point that that fire official made to me when he expressed that we're just moving where we can. There's one that'll pop up. They're spreading their resources. That's one point that he made to me. And then he said the hydrants aren't working either. He said we have no pressure coming from these hydrants. So I think that's going to be another story that we're going to continue to follow. But sadly, right now, the story that is happening in front of us is one that continues, and the flames that shoot from Aldi and many more places here in Altadena and beyond.
Okay, Alex, thank you so much for that update. Line for us in Altadena, where a school and all grocery store there is now up in flames. We now want to get to NBC4's Hetty Chang joining us live again here in Pacific Palisades. And again, Hetty, you've been speaking to a number of homeowners there in that area, just awaiting on answers and truly just in the unknown right now.
Yeah, Camila, this seems to be the spot where everybody is going to survey the damage. They're stopping by on their way to try to check on their homes. This is known as the Village. We're on the corner of Swarthmore and Antioch. Just a few minutes ago, we saw Councilmember Tracy Park and her staff here. And so we want to talk with you now live, Councilmember. Just what has your day been like? You've been touring the area. Describe what you have seen in your district.
The scenes around me are catastrophic. This feels apocalyptic. So much of our beloved Palisades is just gone. This is total devastation, and I am absolutely heartbroken for my community and the many, many friends that have lost their homes and belongings here in the Palisades. This is devastating.
And from what I'm gathering from people who have stopped by here, who have lived here for years, for decades, this is the Village. This is where people go on the weekend to do their business, to shop, to gather. Tell me about the Village and what you are seeing here.
You know, we have lost. How do you even describe the scope and the scale of this loss? These are homes, these are businesses. This is the heart of the Pacific Palisades. It's where our families come and gather, and the farmers market is right here on the weekends. It's really devastating to see it, and we don't even have a complete inventory yet of the losses that we're facing. We are still fighting active fire in this area. The evacuation orders are still in place. Fire continues to spread. And it's not just here in the Pacific Palisades now. There are other fires burning around the city. And so as we inventory this, we ready ourselves for the worst. But I am also really confident in the resilience of this community to come together. The acts of selfless service that I have seen from our first responders and our local residents over the last terrifying 24 hours have been heartwarming. I know that we will come together as we recover and as we rebuild, but we have a very long road ahead of us.
And speaking of this community, what are you hearing from your constituents? What do they need right now?
A lot of heartbreak and devastation, a lot of anger and frustration, a lot of folks not knowing what the future holds. We're going to need a lot of help getting folks not only a place to live, with so many people now having lost their homes, but people are going to need assistance replacing critical documents, filing insurance claims, reimbursements for covered expenses. So we're going to be bringing all of those types of services online as we begin our recovery process. But we are still asking residents and stakeholders to be patient. It's going to take some time not only to get the fire out, but to make sure that the area is safe so that we can survey the damage and begin the process of letting people back into the area.
Councilmember Park, I imagine that much of that anger and frustration obviously comes from the devastation that, you know, residents are discovering, homeowners are discovering, but also, you know, we've heard about, you know, let's talk about the response. I heard Alex Rozier in my ear. He's covering the other fire in Altadena that we've been following, about the pressure from the hydrants over there. You ran into the same issue here at the Palisades. Why does that happen, and how do you prevent that?
So because of the fire, we had about 4 times the usual load on those services already. And then we essentially had active fire, wildfire suppression happening with fire hydrants. That's not how you fight wildfires, which is what ravaged our local community. And so that is part of the problem, but it is also frustration that stems from chronic underinvestment in our critical infrastructure and our public safety partners. You know, here in the city of Los Angeles, we just recently received a standard of coverage report that indicates that here we need at least 62 new fire stations in the city of Los Angeles to meet just our average daily need. We do not have the staffing and the resources that we need on a daily basis. The demands that we are putting on our public safety resources is absolutely untenable, and we can't continue this way. We have 100 fire engines and ambulances out of service at the mechanics yard because we don't have mechanics to repair them.
Bottom line, Councilmember Park, we were dealing with an unprecedented, historic, devastating, particularly devastating wind event. Even with all that, say we had, a fully staffed, resources when it comes to firefighting. I mean, was it just that the wind was just, we couldn't compete with it?
So a few things. We do have low staffing levels, and we have wonderful mutual aid responses. We were instantly supported by our partners at the county, neighboring counties and neighboring cities. CAL FIRE immediately responsive with additional support. So I want to be clear, we're very, very grateful for that help. But if we've learned anything, and this was said at our press conference this morning, LA County Fire Chief Maroney said himself, we are not staffed to deal with this level of emergency or this number of emergencies spread around a geographic footprint like we have here in the city and the county of Los Angeles. And as we look forward to the World Cup in 2026 and the Olympics in 2028, this is a painful and tragic reminder of how much work we have ahead.
Councilmember Tracy Park, again, joining us live to talk about everything, about the resources, about the response, about what she's hearing from her constituents. And the bottom line here is that this is unprecedented. The words that we've been hearing, it's unworldly, it's apocalyptic, and it's heartbreaking. Michael and Camila, back to you.
Pulled from that candid conversation. Hetty, thank you. All right, folks, it's 2 o'clock. We have been on the air now for the last 27 hours, bringing you the very latest on all the fires burning here in our area.
And we're talking about 4 different fires: the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire in Altadena, the Hearst fire in Sylmar, and another small wildfire in the Sepulveda Basin. And on your screen there is a QR code that you can scan for the very latest updates on those weather conditions and evacuations.
All right, the Palisades fire has burned close to 16,000 acres. 1,000 homes and businesses have been destroyed. LA City Fire says the flames started as a fire there in a backyard.
In Altadena, the deadly Eaton fire is burning there. At least 2 people have died. More than 10,000 acres have burned. City leaders are expected to provide an update at 4 this afternoon. All Glendale schools will be closed for the rest of the week.
All right, I want to give you a live look right now from News Chopper 4 over the fire burning in Pacific Palisades. Julia Dang there for us. How's it looking right now, Julia?
Michael, I cannot overstate the sense of urgency here. You just reported nearly 16,000 acres now. We are just standing by overhead watching this grow. This is still at 0% containment. We're feeling the winds up here. We hear our colleagues on the ground talking about how it's dying down, but these are still red flag winds. You heard the interview just now with City Council member Tracy Park. She called this apocalyptic. She called the situation, the preparation here, untenable. We heard from Olivia Garvey, who talked to a resident here who